If you're not prepared to be wrong, you'll never come up with anything original. When we have creativity, when we are creative people, we understand that mistake and failing and being wrong is a part of the process, because you're never gonna come up with an idea from a first try. You're never gonna come up with a book and you're never gonna write it from a first try, the whole book, and you're not gonna make error or stuff like that. It never happens. And also, you will never book an audition from a first try. You never acted, you never took acting class, and you just took an audition and you got it, and then you take another audition and you get it, and so on and so forth. You have to fail. As a creative person, doesn't matter if your field is a creative. I'm putting it into quotes because every job is creative. It has some kind of creative output or input, but we only see arts as a creative jobs. But creativity and being creative is vital in our life and in this world. But only 2% of adults are creative. Only 2% of adults can be creative. And you might think, yeah, some people are just born with it, some people are not. It totally happens, you know? Some people are creative, some people good at math, some people that and that and that, but no. There was a study by NASA and they were searching for geniuses. Geniuses, people who can solve problems creatively. And they took a survey and they looked at 5-year-olds and asked questions and gave them tests and like look around, and understood that 98% of those 5-year-olds are geniuses. Then they saw a group of 10-year-olds. They did all the tests and did all the surveys, and they understood that only 30% of those 10-year-olds are geniuses. Then they saw 12-year-olds, and only 10% of those 12-year-olds are geniuses. And then they looked at the adults, gave them the test, gave them the survey, and they understood that only 2% of adults are geniuses. Creativity is so important, but it seems like we're losing it with time. We're not gaining it, we're not perfecting it, we're not becoming better at it, as we do in most things in life, in walking, in talking, in reading, and so on and so forth. We actually lose creativity. And the reason for that is educational system throughout the world. You know why? I think you do know why. Because making a mistake, being wrong, or failing, it's the worst thing that you can do in school. Oh, you failed that class. You did that wrong. You failed here. You made a mistake here. That's too bad. Because our school system, everywhere in the world, teaches us that we have to be perfect. We do not have to make mistakes. We have to learn. Because if you make a mistake, then it means that you didn't study enough. It doesn't mean that you're a human being who is not a robot and who cannot really learn so many different things in one day from all the homework assignment you have. No, it means that you didn't study enough. And so as kids, we go to school, we're not afraid of being wrong. We actually don't care about being wrong. Can you remember being a child and being afraid of being wrong? I remember being a child and having fun. I remember being okay with not knowing it all. I was okay with failing, I was okay with being wrong, I was okay with making a mistake, because that's a part of life. Imagine if we all had the mind we have right now when we were children and didn't know how to walk, and we would fall a couple times and we're just like, oh, it's not for me, I cannot do this, you know. World would be just a playground where you go to work. We are not born with these insecurities of being wrong or make mistakes or fail. We are born in a society that teaches us to have that insecurity. And so we grow up into insecure people who most of the time do not even know what they want from world. We go to school, and that's how we go from fearless kids to insecure adults, because we lose our capacity to creativity. We become frightened of being wrong. And if you're not prepared to be wrong, you'll never come up with anything original. And I've seen so many people from my high school being so good at lessons, being so good at tests and all these projects and stuff like that. They're brilliant at school. They are so brilliant, they're only getting A's, but they do not have life besides school. And some people could say that's okay, that's how their life's supposed to look like at their age, but I do not agree. I think people should have hobbies and other stuff, but what I also noticed from those people that only got A's, they were perfect, they knew it all, they aced all the tests, and they didn't have life outside of school. When the high school ended, they did not know what to do with their life. And they're like, okay, I'm gonna go to college, but I don't know what degree, I do not know what I like. And the people that weren't so good at school, they could have been, but they decided not to put efforts into it. They know what they want. They knew for a long time what they wanted to be because they tried different things outside of school. They tried different hobbies, they tried different things, they tried making things, they tried writing, acting, whatever. They tried it all. And they figured out what they like. People who only were stuck on school, they were stuck on school. They like, I don't need anything else. Life outside of school, why? Why would I have that? And school is so perfect. School system is such a perfect place to make workers because we're taught to follow a task, learn something and follow a task perfectly. And that's what workers do. You give them something, they learn how to do it, and then they should do it perfectly. But what if I don't want to be a worker? What if I don't want to work for someone? What if I want to be in arts or start my own business? School doesn't teach us that. And what is also so funny is that school has subject hierarchy. Every school in the world, public school in the world, has subject hierarchy. First, it's mathematics and languages. Then it's humanities. And the last place is arts. But there are also hierarchy in arts. First is music and art, drawing, painting, and so on. Then it's dancing and drama. I have never encountered a school that has as many classes of dancing as mathematics, for example. I have never met that. I have never encountered that kind of school. If it's a dance school or art school or drama school and so on, then yes, sure, they will have dance lessons as often as any other lessons because that is what it's focused on, dance or art or whatever. But regular school doesn't have that. No, regular schools have as many dance classes as they have mathematics classes, for example. And why is that? Our legs, arms, and core is not part of our body. It is, but what our school system only cares about is what here, and only half of it, not the creative half, I might add. As it seems right now, if anybody would ask me or any other person on this planet to honestly answer, what is the goal, the purpose of educational system? Or if a person from past decided to come into 2024 and ask, what is the purpose of your education right now, worthwhile? What is that? It would have to be to make workers, and that's understandable because educational system that we have today didn't exist before 19th century, and it was created to serve the needs of industrial society because back then they really needed workers that know physics or chemistry or math or languages or that and that and that. And that is why so many people have been discouraged and are discouraged from pursuing career in arts because it's not practical, because our educational system was created for needs of industrial society, and arts are not needs of industrial society. And that advice that parents used to tell their kids who wanted to pursue art or be a musician or be an actor or be a comedian, it's a well thought advice. They were worried about their kids, but right now it couldn't be more wrong. And the educational system puts too much pressure on academic abilities, which makes people who are talented in other areas feel inadequate. And also, according to UNESCO, more people worldwide will graduate from educational systems between 2007 and 2037 than throughout all of history before that period. And suddenly degrees don't mean anything, because now you need MA, where the previous job required BA and then PhD, and then you work as an intern for a couple of years, and then only at 30 you start earning actual money and you start living actual adult life. and I'm sorry, but it's gonna take you a lot longer than that to get out of debt, because tuition and the cost of education is insane also. 20 years ago, for example, if you graduated college or university and got a diploma, you had a job. If you didn't have a job, it's because you didn't want to have a job. Right now, over 50% of Americans go home after college and don't use their degree, which is actually sad. And also by 2020, about 50% of Americans from age 18 to 29 live with their parents, which was the highest percentage since Great Depression. Okay, I think educational system is not gonna change soon, but we got to get back our creativity and grow our creativity and improve our creativity. So here's some things you can do, we both can do, to improve our creativity. First one is to grow or create creative habits such as brainstorming, journaling, reading widely, practicing mindfulness, taking breaks or daydreaming, experimenting with new skills, surrounding yourself with inspiration, collaboration, setting time limits, reviewing and revisiting. Second one is embrace your inner child. Engage in play, be curious, express yourself freely, let go of perfectionism, revisit childhood hobbies, spend time in nature, imagination and daydreaming, be spontaneous, surround yourself with playful people. Third one is trust your creative voice, trust your gut feeling, your creative gut feeling. First one, if you need to solve a problem, do an evil brainstorming. Whatever your problem is, whatever the issue is, don't think like, how can I make it better? Think, how can I make it worse? And then from writing down the things you can make worse, so it would be the worst situation ever, do the opposite of that, because that is so fun, especially if you're like working with a team. It's so hard to just like, okay, what is the solution to this problem? Come on guys, come on guys. It's so fun to think like, what can we make worse? What can we, do that the situation will be 100% worser? Is that a word? I don't know. And then write down ideas that you gathered and just do the opposite. That is very fun. Number 5 is do squiggle birds. It's a very fun exercise. You basically draw these things and you try to do a bird out of it, which is very fun. Also, I'm not very good at drawing birds or drawing in general, but it's a very fun exercise. Especially, I looked up different types of birds and I tried to make different types of birds, but they didn't work out quite well. 6th one is an exercise which is called alternate uses. You have in 3 minutes to note down as many ideas as possible for how can you use an everyday object. For example, pen, pencil, hairbrush, spoon, knife, and so on and so forth. Next one is also an exercise. It's called Martinez have landed. Basically, you have to describe what you do, your job, your occupation, with no words. You can paint or draw little pictures, symbols, I don't know, things. You can put times tables like from 9 to 3 or whatever, but you cannot use words. And the last one is also an exercise. It's called circles. You have to draw in or around circles and try to make them into meaningful symbols or things that you use, just so they will be understandable. Some of mine are not understandable to you, but they are understandable to me. You also can do, I think would be a pretty great exercise, to just draw these circles again and just paint them or make a design in them or around them differently. I think it would be such a great thing too. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it and you're gonna be using these exercises because they fire. Actually, it takes a little bit of time to do them, especially their alternate uses. It takes a while to do that, but they're so fun to do, honestly. So try them out right now or try them out with a group of friends because they are really fun. Okay, see you next week or in a few seconds if you want to watch any of my videos. Until then, bye bye, love you.